I still can't believe it happened. I spent $14,000, every last penny I had, to fly my entire family to my graduation, a moment I had worked my entire life for, a milestone that represented years of blood, sweat, and tears, only for them to ditch me and fly to Greece instead. And the kicker, the words they used to justify it, the way they dismissed my life, changing achievement as if it were nothing. You're not even important enough. Can you imagine hearing that from the people who are supposed to love and support you unconditionally? Was I wrong to cut them out of my life completely after that? Tell me honestly, would you have done the same thing? Let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Alex, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the black sheep of my family. Not in a rebellious, troublemaking way, but in a quiet, studious, ambitious way that just never seemed to resonate with them. My older brother, Mark, was the golden child, effortlessly charming, popular, and always the center of attention. My younger sister, Sarah, was the spoiled princess, getting everything she ever wanted with just a pout. And then there was me, the middle child, constantly striving for academic excellence, working multiple part-time jobs, and pouring my heart and soul into my studies, often feeling invisible in their shadow. My parents, while never overtly cruel, had a peculiar way of showing their affection, which usually involved prioritizing Mark and Sarah's desires over mine. If Mark wanted a new car, he got it. If Sarah wanted a lavish birthday party, it was thrown. My achievements, like winning a scholarship or getting into a prestigious university, were met with a lukewarm, "That's nice, dear," before the conversation inevitably shifted back to one of my siblings' latest exploits. University was my escape. It was where I truly found myself, where my hard work was finally recognized and celebrated. I chose a program that was incredibly demanding, a 5-year accelerated medical degree, knowing full well the immense commitment it would require. I lived on ramen noodles, studied late into the night, and sacrificed almost every social event to ensure I stayed on top of my coursework. My parents, despite their initial mild approval, were never truly invested. They rarely asked about my classes, my exams, or the monumental challenges I faced daily. Their calls were usually to inform me of some family drama involving Mark or Sarah, or to subtly hint that I should be sending money home, even though I was barely making ends meet myself. I remember one particularly grueling semester. I called my mom, feeling completely burnt out and overwhelmed, hoping for some words of encouragement. Instead, she lectured me about how I was too focused on my books and not enough on family, whatever that meant to her. It was a stark reminder of where I stood in their priorities. As my graduation approached, a sense of immense pride swelled within me. 5 years of relentless dedication were finally culminating in this moment. I was going to be the first person in my family to earn such a high-level degree, a doctor, no less. I envisioned them all there, cheering me on, finally seeing the fruits of my labor, finally acknowledging my worth. I knew flying them out would be expensive. My university was on the opposite coast, a cross-country journey. But I was determined. I had saved meticulously from my part-time jobs, internships, and even some small grants. I wanted them to be a part of it, to share in my triumph. I truly believed this would be the moment that things would change, that they would finally see me, truly see me. I scraped together every penny, a total of $14,000, enough to cover first-class flights, a fancy hotel suite, and all their expenses for a week-long celebration. I booked everything months in advance, sending them detailed itineraries, making sure to choose dates that worked for everyone, accommodating their schedules. My parents, Mark and Sarah, all confirmed enthusiastically, or so I thought. They even expressed excitement, which, looking back, was probably just a facade. The weeks leading up to graduation were a whirlwind of last-minute preparations, final exams, and the thrill of a new chapter beginning. I was so excited, not just for myself, but for the idea of finally celebrating with my family. I had even arranged a special dinner at a high-end restaurant for the night before the ceremony, hoping to create a truly memorable experience for them. A week before they were due to fly out, I called my mom to confirm the final details, bubbling with anticipation. Her voice, however, was strangely distant. "Oh, Alex, about that," she started, and my heart immediately sank. I knew that tone. "We've decided to go to Greece instead." My mind reeled. Greece? What on earth was she talking about? I must have misheard. Greece, I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. "But my graduation is next week. Your flights are booked. The hotel is paid for. Everything is ready here." Then came the words that shattered me, delivered with an almost casual indifference. "Well, Mark got a really good deal on a last-minute trip, and you know how much he loves to travel, and Sarah always wanted to see the Acropolis. Besides," she paused, and I braced myself, "you're not even getting a real graduation. It's just a silly ceremony. It's not even that important." The phone call felt like an out-of-body experience. My own mother, telling me my lifelong dream, my monumental achievement, was not even that important. My graduation. The culmination of 5 grueling years of sacrifice and relentless effort, dismissed as a silly ceremony. I tried to argue, to explain the significance, the meaning behind it all, the sheer amount of money I had spent. My voice cracked as I reminded her about the $14,000, the first-class tickets, the luxurious hotel. She just huffed. "Oh, Alex, it's just money. You'll make more. This trip to Greece is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Mark and Sarah. You're not even." And here it was again, the dismissive tone, the implied insignificance. "You're not even the kind of person who needs a big fuss made over them. You're so independent. You don't need us there much as Mark and Sarah need this vacation." The words hit me like a physical blow. It wasn't just about the money, though that was a significant part of it. It was about the complete lack of regard for my feelings, my efforts, my entire being. It was about the blatant favoritism, the casual cruelty of choosing a spur-of-the-moment vacation for my siblings over my defining moment. I hung up the phone in a daze. The next few days were a blur of anger, hurt, and profound disappointment. I tried calling Mark and Sarah, hoping for some explanation, some apology, some sign that they understood the depth of their betrayal. Mark was nonchalant, saying, "Dude, Greece, you can graduate anytime. This trip is epic." Sarah was even worse. "Alex, lighten up. It's just a piece of paper. You're not even that interesting to watch, get it. Mark's trip is way more exciting." My heart felt like it had been ripped out of my chest. They genuinely believed my graduation was less important than a last-minute holiday. The $14,000 my hard-earned savings just gone, spent on their first-class tickets to nowhere, which I couldn't even get refunded because of the short notice and the type of tickets I had purchased. The hotel, too, was non-refundable. All that money wasted because they chose a frivolous vacation over my life's biggest achievement. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Here I was, days away from the biggest moment of my life, completely alone, with the crushing weight of their betrayal and financial ruin hanging over me. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have let it go? Would you have confronted them further? Or would you have done what I ultimately decided to do? I spent a few days wrestling with my emotions, trying to process the sheer audacity and selfishness of their actions. The graduation ceremony itself was bittersweet. I walked across that stage, received my diploma, and smiled for the cameras, but a part of me felt hollow. I saw other graduates with their beaming families, their parents crying tears of joy, and a wave of profound loneliness washed over me. I tried to focus on the accomplishment, on the years of dedication, but the sting of their absence was a constant ache. After the ceremony, I didn't celebrate. I didn't go out with friends. I just went back to my empty apartment, a doctor, yes, but also a broken son and sibling. It was in that solitude that a quiet resolve began to form within me. I realized that for years I had bent over backward, trying to earn their love and approval, trying to fit into their narrow definition of family. And for years they had taken and taken and taken, offering nothing but dismissals and emotional neglect in return. The $14,000 was the final straw, the undeniable proof that I meant absolutely nothing to them. I decided then and there that I was done chasing their approval, done sacrificing my well-being for people who clearly didn't care about me. My first act was to contact my bank and block all their numbers from my phone. I deleted their social media profiles, effectively cutting off all communication channels. My parents tried to call a few times after they returned from Greece, feigning surprise that I wasn't answering. They left voicemails, initially sounding annoyed, then confused, and finally, a hint of concern crept into my mother's voice, though it felt more like annoyance at being ignored than genuine worry. I never called them back. I never responded to their texts or emails. I simply went silent. It was incredibly difficult, especially in the beginning. There were moments of doubt, moments when I questioned if I was being too harsh, too unforgiving. But then I would remember the words, "You're not even important enough," and the image of them frolicking in Greece while I walked across that stage alone, and my resolve would harden. A few months passed. I started my residency, throwing myself into my work, using the long hours and demanding schedule as a way to heal and rebuild. I made new friends, found a new support system, and slowly, painstakingly, started to believe in my own worth again, independent of my family's validation. Then came the inevitable. My parents, realizing their calls and messages were going unanswered, showed up at my apartment building. I saw them through my peephole. My mother was crying, my father looked angry. I didn't open the door. I just stood there, listening to them pound and yell my name, their voices filled with a mixture of bewilderment and indignation. They couldn't comprehend why I was doing this. When they finally left, defeated, I felt a strange sense of liberation. It was painful, yes, but it was also empowering. The final confrontation, if you can even call it that, came a few weeks later. My brother, Mark, somehow found my work number and called me, furious. "What the hell is wrong with you, Alex? Mom's a wreck. You can't just cut us off. We're family." I listened to him rant for a few minutes, his voice dripping with entitlement. When he finally paused, I took a deep breath and spoke, my voice calm but firm. "Mark," I said, "do you remember my graduation? Do you remember the $14,000 I spent to fly you all here? Do you remember choosing a last-minute trip to Greece instead? Do you remember telling me I wasn't even important enough?" There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then his voice, softer now, "Look, Alex, we didn't mean it like that. It was just..." I cut him off. "It was exactly like that. And that's why I'm done. You showed me exactly where I stand in your priorities, and I'm choosing myself now." He tried to argue, to make excuses, to manipulate me with talk of blood being thicker than water, but I simply reiterated that my decision was final. I hung up the phone and blocked his number too. My relationship with my family is now non-existent. It's been years since that day, and I haven't spoken to any of them. It was the hardest decision I've ever made, and it came with a deep sense of loss, but also with an even deeper sense of peace. I built a new life for myself, surrounded by people who genuinely care, who celebrate my successes, and support me through my challenges. I am a successful doctor, thriving in my career, and for the first time in my life, I feel truly seen and valued. The $14,000 was a painful lesson, but it ultimately bought me my freedom. So, that's my story. It's been a long and incredibly difficult journey, learning to put myself first and accept that some family ties, no matter how much you wish them to be, are simply toxic. The lesson I learned is that true family isn't just about blood. It's about respect, love, and unwavering support. If you've ever felt dismissed or unvalued by the people who are supposed to be your closest allies, know that you're not alone, and it's okay to choose your own peace. Like this video if you were on my side throughout this whole ordeal. Subscribe for more stories like this one, and share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.